everyone. Very warm welcome to everyone. On the behalf of convener Dr. P.D. Chaudhary, Principal of Progressive Education Society, Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigri, and Coordinator Dr. Bhushan Pimpre, Head of Department of Pharmacognosy, Progressive Education Society, Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigri. I, Varsha Pancha, welcomes you everyone in AICTE sponsored short-term training program slot 2 on topic innovations in effective teaching, learning pedagogies and research skill development. Before proceeding to our today's session, I would like to summarize yesterday's session. Yesterday in morning, the first session was delivered by Dr. Vinay Kulkarni, Vinay Kulkarni, Associate Professor and MBA Coordinator in Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Akurdi, Pune, on topic OBE Pedagogies. Followed by second session was conducted Dr. Seema Damle, Principal, Progressive Education Society, B.Ed College, Pune, on topic Teaching for Diversity Inclusions. And the last session was delivered by Colonel B. Venkat, Director of Short-Term Training Program, Faculty Development Cell, AICTE, New Delhi, on topic National Education Policy 2020, Way Ahead. Now, moving on today's session, as truly said by Bernard Lord, innovation doesn't always come in the form of new product or new technology. Sometimes it's about a new way to address an old problem. Now, I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. K.S. Sheikh. Ma'am has completed her master from Pune College of Pharmacy in 2001 and doctorate from Bharati Vidyapeeth, Deemed University, Pune in 2011. Ma'am is holding 19 years of teaching experience and experience in research. Her area of research is drug delivery system, co-crystallization, co-amorphous system, development of nano drug delivery system for phytopharmaceuticals. Ma'am is having more than 30 international and national publications. Recently, she granted 2 Indian patents. She has received National Doctoral Fellowship from AICTE, Delhi. She has completed Summer Research Fellowship Program in 2014 by IIS Bangalore. She has guided more than 30 master students and 5 PhD students. Now, currently, she is a professor and head of Department of Pharmaceutical Quality Assurance at Progressive Education Society, Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigri. With this brief introduction, I kindly request to Dr. K.S. Sheikh, please deliver a talk on the topic research skill. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, you are a host now. Just a minute, ma'am. Ma'am, you are a host now.
Thank you, Varsha ma'am. Thank you for that elaborate introduction. At the outset, let me first greet the entire teaching fraternity who have joined on this online platform. Good morning to all. Let me also thank the organizers of this program. Let me also thank Dr. Praveen Chaudhary, principal of our college, for giving me an opportunity to present myself. Okay. Thank you once again. Can I share my presentation now? Varsha ma'am, can you tell me, are you able to see my screen? Can you see the first slide of my presentation?
Yes, ma'am. We are unable to. We are able to see.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we all are teachers, and at the same time, we are all researchers. Okay, to start with, let me just outline the scientific research process that we undertake. Right? When we do any scientific research process, we basically go through three different phases: the exploration phase, the research design, and the research execution phase. Right? And at each of these steps, some skills are required. Okay, all these will come under the common umbrella of research skills. Right? In my today's presentation, I'm going to focus on the skills that are required in the first phase of conducting the scientific research, that is the exploration phase. In exploration phase, we are supposed to formulate our research questions. Okay, we build up theories, we study different theories. Okay, all these things, they will accumulate in the form of a literature survey. Okay, we do a kind of review of all the literature that is available with respect to the research idea that we have in our mind. Right? So this exploration phase is a very, very important stage because it sets the foundation of the research work that you are doing. And out of these three different steps of the first phase, that is exploration, there are three different steps here. You formulate the research questions, you do literature review, you do theory building. All these three steps are interrelated. And out of these three steps, the literature review part, that is the most important part that I feel. Right? It will decide the success of your research work. Okay? So I am here to share my experiences, my learning about how to do this literature review part. What's a literature review? Right? When we do literature review, we generally survey related to our research idea, the methods that are available with respect to our research idea. They will also, the literature review will also help you in identifying the gaps in the existing research. Right? You can call a literature review as a collection of research publications, books, and other documents. When do you do this literature review? I've already outlined in my first slide that there are three different phases, and we do the literature review in the first stage, right? But let me tell you, literature review does not stop at the first phase, right? It is a continuous process. Okay, we have reached to the end of our research work. We still need to do literature review just to keep ourselves updated, right? Because a research project generally takes minimum 1 to 2 years, right? And there are significant progresses made in a particular research area. Right? So literature review is a continuous, it's an ongoing process. It cannot stop anywhere. Right? But when do we do this literature review? When do we start it? Right? We do literature review while we are formulating a research question statement, while undertaking a research project. Right? This is generally done while we finalize the research work for our PG students, for our PhD students. Then also when we are submitting a proposal for research funding. At all these times, we need to formulate a research question statement, right? So this statement has to be framed, right? For framing the sentence, for framing that particular research question, you need a background, right? So that time you need to do a literature review. The research question statement should be something different. It should not have been addressed earlier, right? So to confirm whether a particular research has been done earlier or not, you need to do literature review. So literature review is done while we formulate a research question statement. Second situation where we do a literature review is when our aim is to publish a review article. Okay, we have not thought of taking up any research project, but we have a particular topic in our mind and we want to do a thorough study of it, right? And we are also, we also have some kind of expertise in that particular area, some kind of understanding. So in such situations, you can publish a review article as a standalone project, right? Here, it is very, very important that a thorough literature review is done. In fact, the project is a literature review. The third situation where we need to do literature review is when we are submitting a research proposal to the funding agencies. In this scenario, we have to convince the funding agency that the research idea that we are proposing, the work that we are proposing is something unique, something novel, which has not been addressed earlier. Right? You can also justify your research proposal by stating it as the need of the hour. Right? So in such cases, you need a strong literature review, which will justify your research proposal. So the funding agency will look into your research literature review thoroughly so that they get convinced of your research proposal and then they can make a decision whether to give the funding or not. The fourth situation where a literature review is needed is when people who are decision makers, they are supposed to arrive at some clinical solution or make some decision with respect to some healthcare problems. Right? So in such situations, they what these people do is they will gather all the data that is available with respect to that particular healthcare problem. Okay, they will collate the data, they will study the results of each of the paper, and then they will make some decision, some policy with respect to that healthcare problem. So in these four different situations, we do literature review. So now we would be in any one of these four situations, right? So we now know that we are supposed to do literature review, right? So when we start with the process of doing the literature review, we should keep in mind, or we should be cautious about what is not meant by a literature review. What is not a literature review? A scientific literature review is not an English essay like what we used to do in our school. It's not an English essay. It is a scientific writing process. It's different from an English essay. Then scientific literature review is not a summary of each research article that you read. Okay, so for related to your research work, you may collect some articles, right? For each article, you may prepare a summary, right? And then you will collect all the 10 different summaries for the 10 different articles and put in a single Word file. That does not make a literature review, right? Then literature review is also not based on personal opinion. Okay, it's not based on a personal opinion. It is not based towards a biased towards your opinion, right? Whatever opinion that you put up in a literature review has to be substantiated by facts. You cannot simply put your opinion across to the readers. Okay, you have to support them with facts, with evidences. Then literature review is also not a chronological history of events in your research area, right? If you try to put up the progress of a research area in an article, then that article does not become a literature review. It is simply a collection of chronological progress, or you can say history of events in that particular research area. It does not become a scientific literature. So what is scientific literature review then? We have seen what it is not. Now, scientific literature review is something that doesn't just summarize the sources, but it analyzes, synthesizes, and critically evaluates to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge on the subject. Okay, so you will be doing summary of the articles, but along with that, there are some other important things that make up literature review. Those important things are analysis. You analyze the articles that you have read. Okay, you will do the synthesis part, and then you will critically evaluate it. Right? So what is meant by analysis, synthesis, and critical evaluates, that I will be talking about in my upcoming slides. What is the purpose of literature review? We have seen different situations where we have to do the literature review. Now, what does this literature review serve us? What is the purpose of it? Right? It will help us in finding out whether the initial research questions have already been addressed. You have a particular research idea in your mind. You want to work on that. So when you do review article, you will confirm that the idea that you have in your mind has already been addressed by researchers earlier or not. Right? Then it will help you in going ahead with that same research idea. Right? Then it will also help us in finding out new or more interesting research questions. Okay, when you do literature review, you will find out that there are certain gaps in the literature, gaps in a particular research area. So those gaps are nothing but they are new research questions that can give us new research projects. Then a literature review will also help you in identifying the progress in a particular research area, in a particular subject within a certain time period. Okay, you can have literature reviews based on time periods. Like there will be a review article which is focusing only on articles published or the work that has been done in 2000 to 2010. So it is covering only a decade of time. So what is the progress in a particular area within that decade? This kind of review articles are also available. Right? Then the review articles can also help you in finding a new interpretation of old material or combine new and old interpretations. It will also help you in tracing the intellectual progression of the field, including the major debates or conflicts or contradictions that have taken place in the research area. Types of literature reviews. Before you start writing a literature review, okay, you should know what type of literature review is demanded for your situation, for your kind of research work. There are many types of literature reviews. The basis of classification is different for all of them. You can have a narrative review. This is generally what we ask our students, PG and PhD students, to do for their thesis or dissertation work. Right? This kind of review you will find as a chapter in their thesis. Right? Here it describes what related research has already been conducted. Okay, so this is called a narrative review. Then you have a critical review. A critical review means it will pick up a topic. It's very specific, right? It will give you a detailed examination of the literature related to that topic. Then you have a scoping review. A scoping review is something which will tell you the scope of a particular research idea. Like, for example, I can cite here use of liposomes. Liposomes are used nowadays almost in all the fields. You will find applications of liposomes in pharma, in cosmetics, in diagnostics, imaging, drug delivery, therapy, so on. So if you're preparing a topic like applications of, so it's a wide area. So here you are emphasizing the scope of application liposomes in so many different areas, right? So here you can mention that in healthcare, there are around 500 applications of liposomes. In cosmetics, there are around 200 applications of liposomes and so on. So here you are trying to explain how much of the work, the extent of work that has been done in a particular area. That's called as a scoping review. It will give you the scope of that particular research idea or that particular topic. Then you have a conceptual review, right? These reviews, they are based on a particular concepts or categories or themes. Then you have state of the art review, right? These kind of reviews, they are conducted periodically, right? They will highlight the important developments that have taken place and what is the current state of research in that particular area. Okay, state of the art reviews are very important when you do research projects. Then you have another type of literature review that is called as systematic literature review. Okay, in systematic literature review, it's nothing but you do the review process in a very disciplined manner. You have a step-by-step methodology, right? Which is that you will be using the step-by-step methodology for the research articles that you are referring. Right? So every research article you'll be analyzing in a particular methodology in a disciplined manner. So that will help in creating a systematic literature review. Okay. So what is done is you will collect articles, right? There will be a group of reviewers who are preparing this review article or who are working on the literature review process. So there are three reviewers in a team, right? So whatever papers you are going to collect related to your topic, these papers will be divided among these three reviewers. You will develop a scoring system, right? The scoring system will help in evaluating the research articles that you are reading. Every research article, using the scoring system, you will assign a score. Right? So there is a common way of evaluating all the research articles because all the three reviewers are going to score the articles in the same manner. Okay, so this provides uniformity of assessment of the articles, right? Then based on the score for each article, you may include them in your review or you may exclude them, right? So if you have decided that a score of 5 and above can be included in our research article, so this will narrow down or it will bring the number of articles to minimum. Then here, each piece of evidence drawn from a paper is extracted in the same fashion. I told you every reviewer will review the articles or it will score the articles in a pre-decided scoring system manner, right? So there is uniformity and there is evidence also that why this particular paper has been included in the review process, right? Then authors create data or evidence tables. Now these three reviewers, they will sit together, right? And they will prepare tables, figures, they will create data, okay? They will collectively do this. And while doing this, they will find out the differences and similarities in the papers which they are using for their review process. Okay? So this way they are combining the results of all the studies that they have reviewed. And so this is called as systematic literature review. The systematic literature review again is of two types. One is qualitative systematic literature review and the other is quantitative systematic literature review. In this qualitative type of systematic literature review, here you are not going to make much use of statistics. Okay? When you arrive at some conclusion, the conclusion will not be based on any statistics. It will be a qualitative kind of decision. Whereas a quantitative systematic literature review, it essentially involves the use of statistics. Without statistics, you cannot call it as a quantitative systematic literature review. Such quantitative systematic literature review, they are also called as meta-analysis, right? Here, what is done is you pool data between studies, right? And you compare the data that is available, right? This is generally done in clinical research, right? Here, the original patient data is collected. They are pooled all together in a database, and then the data is compared by using statistics. Right? And using this statistics, they arrive at a certain conclusion, and this conclusion generally forms the policies or clinical decisions by the health researchers. So here after defining what is quality systematic literature review and quantitative systematic literature review, I would like to say that all the review articles, all the kind of literature review that we people do in pharma, okay, they should follow this systematic literature review process. It could be qualitative systematic literature review, or it could be quantitative one. But whatever it is, we should follow the systematic literature review process. Now, how do we write a literature review? There are basic five steps for writing a literature review. First is we will search for relevant literature, right? So we have a research topic in our mind. With respect to that research topic, we are going to search for articles. Now, while you decide for a topic for literature review, we should be careful that the topic is not too broad and it is not too narrow also, right? But of course, it will depend upon the research project that you have undertaken, right? But this care should be taken that the topic should not be too broad and not too narrow also. We will have to make a list of keywords related to the research idea. These keywords, in some databases, they call it as index term or descriptors. Before we start with the literature search, we should have a list of keywords with us, right? You can also refer to the keywords that are available in MESH or National Library of Medicine, Medline, PubMed, and Cochrane Library. Right? It's better if we stick to these types of keywords that appear in these standard databases. Right? Now, once we have a list of keywords with us, we will begin with the searching process. Right? Now, if the researcher is new to a particular research project or new to a research area, then that particular researcher can go for basic search. Okay, to get an understanding of a particular topic, the researcher may refer to Wikipedia or YouTube or any other websites, but you cannot cite these resources in your literature review. Then comes general literature search. Okay, having understood the basic concepts of a research topic, now we will move ahead towards the general literature search. For getting a general idea of the topic, you can refer to Google Scholar or books that are available. Now, if you want to go for a specific literature search, okay, so we are now moving forward. Okay, we are advancing from basic online research, then general literature search, now specific literature search, right? This is very important for us. Like here, what we do is we will refer to Web of Science, okay, PubMed, and many other databases that are available where precise literature search is done. Okay, there you have to use the advanced search option. Like if I'm talking about liposomes, then what about liposomes? Okay, now I want to prepare a literature review on the size of liposomes, right? So when you search in these specific databases, that is Web of Science, Google Scholar, PubMed, and so on, I will clearly make use of the terms particle size, liposomes, right? So we have to make use of the advanced search options. Then whenever we do the literature search, we should do in multiple search engines, right? Don't stick only to Web of Science or only to PubMed, right? Make use of others also. When we go for advanced search options, we find these Boolean operators. We can make use of these Boolean operators to narrow down the number of articles which we will have to read. Then while we are looking for this research articles, right, we read a particular article. We find it very interesting. What we should do is, for that particular article, you go to its bibliography. There again, we may find few more important articles which we can include in our literature review. So the bibliography of our articles is also an important part for us. Then we have to make note of recurring citations, right? Whenever we read any article, we should check the citation metrics. We need to check the altmetrics of that particular article. Okay, there you will find the importance of that particular article. Okay, how other researchers have used this particular research article, what impact this article has made in the research area that you are focusing on, right? So we have to make a note of the recurring citations. Also look out for publications by the same authors. Okay, it happens that a particular researcher is working in a particular field, and with that technology, he has prepared formulations of different drugs. Okay, so for that researcher, you will find 10 different articles. In these 10 different articles, the technology remains the same, only the drug that has been worked on is different, right? So you can group all these 10 articles together. Then whatever keywords you have been using, you have to keep a track of those search items, because later on, if you want to get back to a particular article, you can replicate the search. Now we have collected all the articles. What to do with these articles, right? For every research article, you are supposed to make notes. Now, in the notes, you are going to find out the key concepts that the particular research article deals with, right? What models and methods that article has incorporated, what are the results and conclusions of that particular article, what are the strengths and weaknesses of that research. Okay, so for every research article, we are supposed to note down all these points, because these points are going to help us in writing down our review article. Okay, so while we are reading the research articles, we will find out whether any landmark studies have been there and any major theories have been proposed by earlier researchers. Then if you find so, then you have to include these landmark studies and major theories in your review article. Right? Then you have to make use of reference managers. Okay, reading every article, making notes, collecting them, saving them, it's a challenging task, right? So we can make use of reference managers. Right? These reference managers will help us in storing all the data which is relevant to a topic. So you can have a folder related to a particular topic. In that folder, you may save the articles under that particular topic. You can even share those articles with your colleagues, friends, and students. You may even make changes in the articles. You may highlight the important points, right? You may make notes in that article there itself, right? So this is the wonderful use of reference managers. It will really make our work much easy. So here are some reference managers that are available: EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero. Okay, you can compare them, whichever is suitable for your purpose. You can make use of them. However, I suggest that Mendeley is a very good option. Even Google Scholar will help us in managing our references and storing our articles. So now we have collected the articles, relevant articles. We have read each article. Okay, we have made notes. Now what is the next step? The next step is critical analysis of these articles. Okay, for every article, you have to study whether there is sufficient provenance. Okay, you have to check for the author's credentials. You have to check the objectivity of the author's work, right? Is the data convincing for us to be included in the research, in the review article, right? Then what is the value of that particular research article? Okay, does that work contribute in a significant way to an understanding in the field? So for every article, you can score based on these points. Now we were talking about critical thinking. Okay, so having scored each article that you have read, right? Now it is a time for moving from description to analysis. Okay, and this step is called as critical thinking. Okay, description is nothing but you have summarized every review article, right? But analysis is different from description. Analysis means although you have summarized every article, now you deconstruct that particular article. Okay, you break down that particular article, right? And then you challenge the assumptions. For every research article, you challenge the assumptions that the author has put. Okay, you try to show the limitation in that particular study. Okay, then you can also highlight under examined research. Okay, for every research, there will be certain gaps that are unfulfilled. So you may highlight those gaps also. Okay, so this is very important, right? After doing the description or summarizing, you have to do the analysis, you have to challenge, you have to show the limitations. Okay, when you are doing this critical thinking, what are we actually doing? Okay, we have to identify the evidence to back up and challenge the key points, right? So when you are challenging the key points, you also need to have evidence that why you are challenging them, right? What makes you think that this is wrong, right? You have to back up your challenge with some evidence. Then you when you are doing critical thinking, you are actually detecting the inconsistencies and mistakes in the author's reasoning. Okay, you are finding out mistakes, right? You're also detecting the bias. You're also detecting any premature conclusions that have been made by the author. And if there is a lack of evidence for what the author states, right? In some papers, you must have observed that people have done cell line studies. Okay, they are trying to prove a drug is a good option for treating certain kind of cancers, right? And for doing that, they have done cell line studies. Okay, but when they conclude in their paper, they conclude in their research work, they will not conclude it as only the in vitro cytotoxicity testing. They will make a straightforward statement that this drug has anti-cancer properties. Okay. To claim that a drug has anti-cancer properties, you need in vitro cell line studies, but you need in vivo studies also. Now the author has done only in vitro cell line studies, but he's making a conclusion that it can be used as anti-cancer drug. That is wrong. Okay, so it is a premature conclusion, right? Without doing any sufficient work, you cannot claim that it's an anti-cancer drug. You can simply state, or you can simply conclude that it shows in vitro cytotoxicity. So such premature conclusions, such biases or lack of evidence, you can highlight and use for your discussion in literature review. Right? Then you also distinguish between fact and opinion. Okay? Then you also find out if there are any conflicting opinions in the research articles. Right? So as you are reading all these research articles, you are able to find out the strengths and weaknesses, right? You will come to a situation where you yourself will be able to suggest new solutions or different solutions, right? So you can do even that in a literature review, but you will be able to do that only when you do the critical thinking, right? Not only proposing new or different solutions, you can construct your own arguments also. Okay, you can construct your own opinions or conclusions. So once you critically analyze other research articles, you can come up with your own arguments and opinions and conclusions. But a literature review does not give you a right to do it freely, right? When you are making any conclusion or you're trying to give your own arguments, okay, you have to back up with some well-informed decision, with sufficient evidence, with sufficient data. Okay, why are you making this conclusion? Why are you giving this argument? Why are you giving this suggestion? Okay, all this has to be backed up with some evidence, some fact, right? So as you are evaluating other researchers, you have to evaluate yourselves also. Now, having done this critical thinking, okay, you will identify in the next step that there are certain connections and relationships between the articles. Okay, you will identify that there are certain trends, there are certain themes, there are certain debates, conflicts, and contradictions in all these research articles that you have reviewed, right? Then there are certain gaps also, right? So you will identify all these, and identification of these things will help you in structuring your literature review. Now it's the time to write the structure of the review article. Okay, now the structure will vary slightly depending on whether it's a mini article, full review article, or it's a chronological article, or if it's a thematic one or methodological one. Okay? So based on the type of article, you can have different structures for the literature review. There is a standard way of writing a literature review. Okay, any literature review article will basically contain the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. These are the three essential headings, right? There are deviations from this. Now, there are several guidelines that have come up with respect to the structuring of review articles or with respect to the contents of the review articles, right? But the main headings should be the introduction, main body, and conclusion. Then introduction, it will form the 10% of the total word count of the review article, right? You can allot 80 to 85% word count to the main body where you will be discussing all the review articles. Then conclusion can be 5 to 10% of the total word count of the review article. In the introduction, what are we going to include? In the introduction, we are supposed to introduce the topic, supposed to highlight the importance of the review article. What is the need to do such a review article? That has to be highlighted. Then what is the core aim of this review article? Right? So your introduction is a very important part. Okay, it should be as interesting as possible. Right? It should establish the focus and purpose of the literature review. In this, you are going to tell the reader what you are going to talk about. Right? You are going to list out the topics which you are going to address in the review article. Right? In the introduction part, you have to move from broad to specific. Right? Like if you are talking about the size of liposomes, you need to first discuss what are liposomes. Okay, explain them and then try to come to the importance of size of liposomes, and that would be the last statement of your introduction part. Then in the introduction, you should also mention which keywords you have used for the literature search, which databases you have referred to, what advanced search options you used. Right? You should also mention the range of year of publications. Like in my review article, I have included all those articles which are published from 2000 to 2020. So this way you have to give the range of year of publication. You also need to mention the inclusion and the exclusion criteria. Inclusion criteria means what articles you have included, okay, and on what basis you have excluded certain articles. The criteria for inclusion and exclusion, the basis for inclusion and exclusion of the research articles. Talking about the main body, okay, once the introduction part is over, next is the main body. Right, in the main body, you are going to discuss the research articles. Right, you can group the research articles and have a common paragraph for this group of research articles. Right, and whenever we write the main body, we have to focus on the recent data. Right, now in this main body, we are going to summarize the individual studies or articles. Okay, so you can say that for one research article, you're preparing one paragraph. Okay, you can make use of subheadings. Right, you can make use of diagrams, figures, and tables in the main body. Right, so now main body, as I said, we are going to summarize each research article. For one research article, you will have a paragraph. Right, so you will have several such paragraphs in the review article. Okay, it is not simply putting paragraphs in this review article. You have to summarize as well as synthesize. Okay, synthesize means you are having 10 different articles. Okay, so what each article speaks, that you will have in form of a paragraph. But now, as I said, if you are preparing a review article on the size of liposomes, so you may make a table. In that table, you are synthesizing the data related to the size of the liposomes. Okay, so the table is about the size of liposomes. There will be 10 different articles for what is the size that was obtained for the liposomes in each of the article. Okay, so this way you will have the synthesis part. Okay, summarization is for each article you make a summary what work was done by that researcher, but synthesis is collating the data. Okay, you are gathering all the data and putting in a illustrative manner, maybe a table or a figure. You can even have a discussion for it. Okay, now this is synthesis part. Now is analyzing and interpreting. So that what we have seen is the critical thinking part. Okay, now you will compare the data in the table. You will compare the data in the figures. Okay, so comparing will help you in critically evaluating it. You can find out the strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so that is the most important part in writing a literature review. Right, after summarization, you do the synthesis, and synthesis is done. It is followed by critical analysis. Now, for every paragraph, every research article I told you, we can make one paragraph. Okay, so for every paragraph, you will need a topic sentence. Okay, topic sentences, you are introducing your key point related to that particular research article. It will be followed by supporting sentences. Okay, now what was the actual research done? That forms the supporting sentence. Then the third part will be the concluding sentence. Okay, it includes the summary sentences, right? So for every research article, you have a paragraph, and in every paragraph, you will have a topic sentence, supporting sentence, and a concluding sentence. Okay? Now for you have prepared the first paragraph now. Okay, now the next paragraph is to be framed. Okay, now the next paragraph, the work done in the next paragraph will be similar to the first one. So now you need not again explain the second paragraph or the second research article in detail. Right? If the work is similar to the first paragraph, you can make use of transition words. Okay, to show the similarity in work. Right? You can make use of the words that I've listed here, like in addition, in the same way, right? In the light of. So such words can be used, right? So instead of having 2-3 paragraphs for 2-3 articles, you can have only one paragraph for the first article, and then you can write down in addition or make use of such transition words and just conclude the next 2 research articles. So this will reduce the length of the review. Then you can also make use of some transition words which will indicate the opposition, right? Like if there are 2 research articles, but both of them are having contradictory statements, right? So you may link the first research article to the second one by making use of these transition words. Like here I have mentioned in contrast and the contrary. Right? So whenever you want to indicate opposition, limitation, or contradiction, you can make use of such transition words. And if you want to discuss the problems and limitations of a particular research article, you can make use of these phrases. Like the main weakness with this theory is that, right? I told you that critical thinking is a very important part of literature review. Okay, we have to challenge the concepts, right? We have to, when we are challenging the concepts put up by the researchers, it doesn't mean that we are disrespecting them. Okay, it is only a critical thinking process. And if we are challenging also, and if we are trying to show the limitations also of a particular researcher, we have to do it in a much decent way. Okay, so if you properly frame your sentences, okay, we are not causing any disrespect to the researchers or the authors whom we are challenging. So we can make use of such phrases that I have put up here. A few general points about writing the literature review. We should be very much precise in our statements, right? There should not be any ambiguity. People should not misinterpret our statements, right? They should be very clear as far as possible. Make use of simple language and pay a lot of attention to the sentence structure and grammar. You have to be objective. Okay, you are not supposed to put up your own opinions, right? If you are putting up any statement, it is related to your opinion, then they have to be based on facts, not on emotions. Then critical thinking, as I already stressed in my earlier slides, you should do critical thinking. Okay, and whatever arguments that you put up in the literature review, okay, they should have a logical order. Okay, the flow of arguments is very important. You should maintain the flow of your arguments. Literature review writing is like storytelling. Okay, you're narrating a story, so you have to resume the flow of the arguments, right? Then in addition, in the main body, you can make use of figures, tables, right? There are several softwares available which can help you in making your tables and figures like Inkscape, AutoDraw. Many free versions are available. Last part of the review article is the conclusion. Okay, in the conclusion, you are going to summarize the major research contributions, right? And but you cannot, but you have to maintain the focus that you have established in the introduction, right? in the introduction, you have moved from broad to specific. Okay, the last part of your introduction is a specific statement of what is there in your review article. Okay, whereas in conclusion, it is opposite. From the specific, you may go to the broad. Right? In the conclusion, you can also point out any major flaws or gaps or inconsistencies. You may even highlight the potential future of a particular study. Then in addition to the introduction, main body and conclusion, tables and figures, you can have abstracts. Okay, nowadays journals demand graphical abstracts even for literature reviews as well as research articles. You may have table of contents and acknowledgement section in the review, literature review. Okay, we have to take care of the tense that we use. This is related to the grammatical part of writing a review articles. Right? In the abstract, we have to make use of simple past tense. Whenever we are stating any fact, we have to write it in the present tense. In the introduction, you can make use of present tense. Okay, past tense is used when you are reporting work done by earlier researchers. So for review article, most of the things would be in past tense. For the methods, you can use simple past tense. For results and discussion, again, simple past tense can be used. But when you are supporting your results with facts, then the facts have to be in the present tense again. Right? For conclusions and all, you can make use of present perfect. And if you are stating the potential of a particular work, then you make use of the future tense. When referencing, you have to keep a list of references. You have to cite the references. You can make use of many reference guides, make use of different styles of referencing depending on your research area or depending on the journal to which you wish to publish your review. Okay, while writing down the references, make sure that you reference the source material, the original research article, and not a review of the research. Okay, whatever I discussed now, they are the general guidelines that you will find in different books, right? But being in healthcare research, I would like you people to follow these guidelines. Okay, there are certain guidelines available when you're preparing review articles which are related to randomized trials. They are called as consort. For observational studies, you have the STROBE guidelines. For systematic reviews, you have the PRISMA guidelines. Okay, here different guidelines I have enumerated. But for pharma, I feel that PRISMA is very useful. Like PRISMA is nothing but preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. Okay, as I suggested in my earlier slides also that we will not make simple review articles. Okay, we will make only systematic reviews. Right now, the systematic reviews could be a qualitative one or a quantitative one. If it's a quantitative, then we are making a meta-analysis. So we already have a set of guidelines available. These are called as PRISMA guidelines. Right? They were earlier framed and published in 2009. The latest version that is available is PRISMA 2020. Okay, so these guidelines, they have a checklist. Okay, in this checklist, review as per these items. You can see the table here. The first column is the section and topic. The second is the item. So these guidelines tell us how the title should be, how the abstract should be. So several headings of the literature review, okay, they are mentioned here, and how these headings should be written. Guidelines related to that also have been given in detail over here. Okay, I cannot explain each of these checklist items due to shortage of time. I've already exceeded the time allotted to me. So you can see here the item 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. So total there are 27 such items that should be there in your review article. Okay, although the PRISMA guidelines, they were developed for clinical research. Okay, although they have been developed for clinical research, it doesn't stop us from using it. Okay, for whatever review article that we are preparing, we should follow these guidelines. Okay, so that the our review article will have maximum visibility among the researchers, right? Here I want to share with you that there is an international database called as Prospero. Okay, you can see the last part of the slide, Prospero. It's an international database of registered systematic reviews in health and social care. Okay, what you have to do is, if you're planning to make a review article in healthcare area, right, or a social area also, then as soon as you plan, you register for this Prospero. It's free of charge, right? You make an account in it, and then you put your review article in this database. So these people, there are people working for them. They will evaluate your systematic review. Okay, and then they will even suggest you the different corrections, or they will have their own opinions. So it will help you in developing your systematic review. Once your systematic review is finalized, then it will be deposited in this database. Okay, and it will be made available free of charge to the readers. Okay, this is something which I have recently learned. Okay, and I found it very, very useful for me, because when I have logged into this, okay, I found so many systematic reviews which are useful to me. Okay, and then they are systematic. Okay, they have been made in a disciplined manner, and then they have also been evaluated by experts. Okay, so these systematic reviews we can make use of for developing our own research projects. So this was about using the PRISMA guidelines. Then you can also refer to Cochrane Handbook for Systematic Reviews of Interventions. Okay, here also you will find guidelines how to make a review in healthcare. Then you have this ARRIVE guidelines. Okay, so when we are doing any animal research, right, how will you report the in vivo experiments? Okay, so you have these guidelines. I came across the recent version of these ARRIVE guidelines. They have been published in July 2020, right? So this will help you in preparing your research project if you are doing any kind of animal research. It will also help you in making your literature review. Okay, when you are comparing the preclinical trials related to your research work, then you can compare them using the guidelines, the checklist items that have been proposed by the ARRIVE guidelines. Here are some of the references that I have referred to, I have used to make my review article, this presentation. Here you can see the links for Cochrane, PRISMA, then ARRIVE guidelines, and also for Prospero. I request everybody to please go through these guidelines. Technical team, can you tell me if I can take another 5 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to share one article with you all. I will take only 5 minutes more.
Yeah, no issue. Okay, ma'am, no issue. You can continue.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Can you see this PDF file? Yes. Yes, this is one review article. Here, the authors have tried to show the size-dependent cytotoxicity of amorphous silica nanoparticles. Right? Basically, they were working on silica nanoparticles, and this review is based on the relation between the particle size of silica nanoparticles and the cytotoxicity. So they have done a systematic review of all the articles that they have collected with respect to cytotoxicity of the silica nanoparticles. Okay, if you can see this highlighted part, right? See how they have organized the abstract. The first few sentences which are highlighted in yellow color, right? They have set the background for the silica nanoparticles. What is the use of silica nanoparticles and how is the size important, right? See the organization and the framing of sentences, right? Then the green colored statement, that is the purpose of their systematic review, right? Their aim was to summarize the relation between particle size and its adverse biological effects, right? Then the following blue colored part, blue highlighted part, it is the methodology that they have adopted, right? How did they do the literature search? Then the final part, the pink colored one, okay, this is the conclusion that they have made after analyzing all the articles. Okay, so this way we have to format our literature review. Okay, see the introduction of this review article. Okay, they have introduced the silica particles. Yes, this, the dark pink colored part, right? Yes, this states the importance of this review article, why this review article has been made. Why did the authors take the pains to write this review article? Okay, they are justifying their review article. Yes. So the justification ends here. Then the blue highlighted part, right? Here, the aim of this review article has been mentioned. Here you can read it. We provided a systematic review to summarize the relation between the particle size. Okay, they have clearly mentioned what is the aim of this review article, right? Then what they have done, okay, and then what things they have included in this review article. We also explored the reasons why some studies did not conclude a size-dependent cytotoxicity. Okay, this is the synthesis part, okay, that they have analyzed the different articles, right? And then they found that cytotoxicity was not related to size in few of these research articles. Right, you can see this methodology inclusion criteria. Okay, which articles they have included. Okay, if you put if you go for Google search for silica nanoparticles, you will find so many articles. Okay, but they have included only few amongst them. Okay, so they have clearly stated their inclusion criteria here. Okay, they have used only, so you can see here the pink colored part. Inclusion criteria, use amorphous non-mesoporous silica nanoparticles without any surface modification. Okay. You can see on the left hand side here, new pink color highlighted, use different sizes of silica nanoparticles. Then they have used only those articles in which in vitro cytotoxicity has been reported. Okay. So these are the different inclusion criteria for this review article. So we have to clearly state such inclusion criteria for a review article. Then how they have done the literature search. Okay, I have highlighted this in the green color. Okay, they have referred to different databases. You can read here. They have referred to PubMed, Web of Science, right? And this green highlighted part, you can see that they have given the keywords also, which they have used. Okay, so we have to write the review article in this way. Right, and as I told you that quality assessment and information, this part I have discussed as scoring of the different articles that we included in our literature review. You can see this flow chart. Such flow charts should be included in our review articles. This is the process by which the authors have finalized the number of articles they have included in this review. You can see the last part of this flowchart, N is 76. So finally, out of the 1543 articles, you can see the first part in this flowchart, 1543 articles were collected, but out of those, only 76 were included in this review article. Okay, so such flowcharts should be included in the literature review. I think I've already exceeded much of the time. I should stop here.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patient listening.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for such a nice talk. It is very useful lecture. Okay, so our question answer session is started. If anyone is having questions, they can raise your hand virtually. Ma'am, we are having one question from Hasti Kenya. He is asking if in case of review paper is gained from others, so is it compulsory to inform the author? Means if you we are copying their paper or image or data, is it compulsory to inform the authors in case review paper?
If you are using others' figures, tables, or even any data or paragraphs, then you are supposed to cite them. Okay, then there are certain figures and tables for which there is copyright. So you have to contact the researchers, ask for their permission, and then only you have to include in your review article.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for giving such an amazing talk. Thank you once again.
Hello.
On the
Hello.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Just wanted to add something in that. As you said, if we are using any image or any material respected to diagram, that we have to quote their reference or we have to get a copyright permission from them. But when we are using any data, of course, when we are doing plagiarism check, that data comes under plagiarism. So we have to paraphrase that data, and that is important. Paraphrasing of data and quotation, that is important.
Yes, ma'am, you rightly said that whenever we are using data, right, or if we are trying to write some sentences, we cannot pick up the sentences as it is. You may have to reframe them. Along with reframing, you also have to cite them.
Yes.
Yeah. Only in case of figures and tables, you need permission if they are copyrighted. And even there, you need to cite them.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to summarize the ma'am session, Sheikh ma'am session on the topic literature review skills. Okay, so it was very nice lecture. Ma'am explained the situations involved or to do the literature review, then the steps involved in writing a literature review, how can we use the Boolean operators in searching papers. Then she explained the important guidelines for literature reviews. Then also she has shared a database that is Prospero for systematic review in healthcare and social care. And next database for animal study guideline, oh sorry, it is a ARRIVE guideline for animal research. Okay, so thank you, ma'am, for such a nice talk. On behalf of our principal, Dr. P.D. Chaudhary, and coordinator, Dr. Bhushan Pimpre, please accept our sincere appreciation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and
I've accepted this. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, I kindly request you to accept our virtual certificate. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.